Welcome to Truth or Fiction Classified. I'm your host, Justus Knight, and on this broadcast, we cover today's headlines that beg the question, are they truth, are they fiction, or will the answers simply remain classified? Hello, my friends, and welcome to this very special edition of Truth or Fiction Classified. I'm your host, Justus Knight, and I just completed a trip out to the White Mountains of Arizona to interview Travis Walton. As many of you know, this was the gentleman the movie Fire in the Sky was based around his abduction, his disappearance for 5 days, the date November 5th, 1975. An investigation ensued. 5 days later, he reappears, and he's going to tell you about this story that has stayed with him, obviously, for his entire life. How people have treated him from the initial reports until today. It's an amazing story in its actuality, and I hope that you enjoy it. I want to thank Travis for giving me the opportunity to sit down with him and interview him about something that, again, has affected him so greatly, but yet remains one, if not the most famous abduction story that has ever existed. And so as I complete my trip, I just want to share it with you as to what he has to say as he recounts events that happened that day so many years ago, but when talking to him, it is as if it just happened yesterday. Here's the interview, and I want to thank you all for tuning in. I want to welcome everybody to Truth or Fiction Classified. I'm your host, Justus Knight, and I am honored to be here with Travis Walton. This is the subject of Fire in the Sky, the movie that I know so many of you have seen. This was his real-life experience, and I want to take this as far out of Hollywood as possible. And if you can just give him a brief overview for anybody who may have missed it.
Well, in November 5th, 1975, I was working with a crew of 6 other men, and we encountered this large glowing object in the forest on the way home from work. I went up to get a closer look and was taken aboard. And when the crew members reported this to law enforcement, they were accused of murdering me and making up a very wild cover story. So they demanded to be tested, and the sheriff's department all gave them polygraph tests, which they passed. And even right after it happened, Dr. Harder made the point that if you had 6 people saying they had witnessed a murder without lie detector test, that would be a pretty open and shut case in a death penalty case. And here you have people passing lie detectors. Now we're up to like 20 lie detector tests in connection with this incident, and there's still people who just would like to do anything possible to avoid believing it.
Some of you have been subject to continue to not believe. Well, it's anything as we cover on this channel. So much of the things that are unexplained, people just like to shove them aside. It could never have happened. And I would listen to you before another interview, and there was 2 things that stuck out to me. I had actually covered, there was a government document that was released, and it was somebody discussing a vision that they had seen on Mars. The government had employed them to see things, and you described the ship to this other person you were interviewing with as very plain, as very generic. Yeah. Nothing spectacular, correct?
That's true.
That was exactly how this person had described what they had seen on Mars. They had seen alien life, but yet it was very plain. It was very basic. It wasn't as Hollywood as
not dazzling, blinking lights and weird sounds and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was surprisingly plain interior.
That's amazing. Now, in your experience, and it was funny because you had also said in the movie you were described as you came down, you were found naked, no clothes, but in actuality that wasn't the truth.
No, I had the same clothing, and my brother, he had some advice from ufologists, and he had the presence of mind to take my clothes, seal them up in a clean bag for analysis. But because of this incredible onslaught of attacks from media and law enforcement and all this sort of stuff, the bag wound up getting torn open and contaminated, and that little project was abandoned. But It was very intense for everyone involved, not just me, but the entire crew and our families. It was really, really difficult at the time. I would go out in town, and people that I knew would pretend they didn't see me, that they didn't know me. But things have changed. Now I go out, and people I do know, the people I don't know, pretend they do know me. Hey, Travis, how you doing? Remember me? No, actually, I don't.
But hi.
Hi.
Well, it's nice you said that, because I was going to ask you, I mean, obviously the immediate impact, and I wanted to see how that transitioned over time, so people become more accepting, more opening to listen to what
Yeah,
happens.
I think that there's been, the scientific announcements, things that have come from NASA. Last December, the announcement from the Pentagon, the Navy gun camera footage of UFOs, they were definitely saying, this is not ours. And I think that even that announcement is a sort of a calculated conditioning process that is really necessary here. And that's my mission. In continuing to talk about this over 4 decades later, is to get people used to the idea that this is real. This really happened, and this is a very real phenomenon. But at the same time, when I tell people, a lot less to be alarmed about than I once thought, some people actually seem a little bit disappointed about that. That when I say, just think of them and those people from way over there that we don't know too much about, I think they like the wowie-zowie sci-fi.
They're looking for it.
Invading monsters
Yes.
concept that Hollywood gives us, but I don't think that's an accurate description of the phenomenon.
And I'm glad you said conditioning, because I believe many things. It could be that Hollywood is conditioning everybody for a worst case scenario, so when it actually happens, if there is this disclosure, NASA is releasing documents. The other organization released those footage of the Air Force showing that craft that was floating above this. It was an amazing footage. They had it calculated, they had it timed, they had it tracked, they had it everything that had never been disclosed in that detail before.
But this was calculated. It's very traditional when the government wants to some information out there, but they don't want too much attention given to it. They do it on a Friday night, and it's a slow news situation. They've got the whole weekend for it to simmer and other things to crop up, so that it has minimum impact. And that's just exactly the way this gun camera footage of these UFOs was released. It was in a way to get the information out there, in a way to create as little undue excitement as possible.
So do you believe that there's a big disclosure coming within our near future?
I think it's incremental. I think it's measured, and I think the aliens and our government think it's in our best interest for people to get used to the idea that this is a reality, but at the same time, nothing to cause a panic about.
And it's amazing. So you've been able, and by you sharing your personal story, other than what we see in Hollywood, and that people are becoming more accepting.
Yeah, this is just my theories, my opinions, but I've had over 40 years to think about it and weigh all the different explanations. And believe me, I've heard from every sort of explanation for this phenomenon that you can possibly imagine. And it comes down with me to this. I say, how do you know this? You've got an explanation for the whole thing here. How do you know this? What verifiable facts can you point me to? What valid reasoning led you to believe this that will make me be as certain of it as you are? And very, very often people come up short on that end, but it's, I would think, the minimum requirement. Why should I believe this? I can tell you why you should believe what happened to me. There's a lot of pretty amazing stuff that I don't bring up because I can't document that part of it. But everything that I have in my book is about medical tests, polygraph tests, physical evidence, radiation readings, magnetic readings, changes in growth of the trees, in addition to minute examination of every theory that the skeptics came up with, which was just totally disproven in a very basic factual way.
Can I step up real quick? Because I think this is, and the reason I want to bring this in is, on my station that everything we do is based on facts. I don't do hearsay. I do evidence to the best of our ability, to the best of what we're given, because we have to take a lot of details and piece it together. But Travis, I just want to thank you so much. I mean, this has been amazing to hear from you and to bring that personal into what's happening, because we see the videotapes, we see what Hollywood's produced, we see what the news allows us to see, we see the disclosure releases from the government in little bits and pieces 30, 40 years after it's happened.
Yeah.
And that's very untangible for a lot of people to put their arms around.
And that's what I end up with. I always say, please, if you're going to form an opinion about this, get the facts first. It's available, it's out there, and don't believe what the skeptics are saying, because they begin with a conclusion and then look for means to support that conclusion. The way you find out what's true is get the facts first and then see where that leads you. People get it backwards. Come up with a belief and then look for things to support their belief. Totally backwards. Try it the other way around.
I like him the more we talk to him. This is incredible. But thank you for joining me. Again, this has been the Truth or Fiction Classified name. My name is Justus Knight. This has been my guest, Travis Walton. Please check out his book. The only place you can find it is on your website, correct?
That's right, traviswalton.com. Right. And thanks for having me.
Oh, I appreciate it. And Godspeed and God bless. Until next time, signing out.
I hope you enjoyed that. It was amazing to have the opportunity to sit down with Travis. I'd like to thank him again. You saw his book there. I left a link below for you to follow it if you want to purchase it. These opportunities don't come around every day. It was a long trip, many hours, but well worth it just to have an opportunity to sit down with him, to have him recount parts of his story so that I could bring it to you, my audience, so that you get a first-hand account of one of the most famous alien abduction accounts in history. I hope you'll each remember that the Last Days Warrior Summit is coming up very quickly, and if you haven't signed up, that you'll go below in my links, follow the link, and purchase access to this online summit with so many amazing speakers. Most importantly, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I certainly hope you will. Please always make sure the bell is clicked so you get alerted to upcoming videos. And most importantly, Godspeed and God bless. Until next time, this has been Justus Knight, signing out.